What's up, beautiful creatives of the world? In this free workshop, you're going to learn exactly how to price your art no matter where you're at in your art journey. My name's Jake Dunn. I'm the president of Milan Art. This is Jock Armour. He's been our gallery director at Milan Art Gallery and has been a gallery director for the last 10 plus years. This is Dimitra Milan. She's been a professional artist for over 10 years now and also happens to be my lovely wife. And today I'm super excited because this is a very important topic. In fact, one of the most requested topics that we have. And so I'm excited to jump right into it. So pricing your art is sensitive. It is difficult. Even when you're an emerging artist, even when, you're an established artist or a professional artist. What are some of the reasons why most artists struggle with pricing, Dimitra?
I think it's mostly a confidence thing when you're starting out because art can be so personal. Like I know for myself, when I first got started, just trying to choose a price range, it's like that art represents a part of you and you don't want it to be too much or too little, and you're worried about what other people think, if they think it's too expensive or not priced, like doesn't have enough value. So it is just a confidence thing. And so knowing, like having a plan and knowing what you're working towards, having a goal, that's so important.
Yeah, I totally agree. Jock, what are some of the struggles that you've seen artists deal with?
I think just right off the bat, there's no precedent for art. It's not a commodity in the sense that, if you need a car, you kind of know what that car model goes for. You can shop around. So coming up with a number is stressful. And like Dimitra said, a lot of people trip up because they undervalue themselves because they want to succeed, which could be a double-edged sword. By undervaluing themselves, it might put themselves out of the eyes of some collectors that kind of want something of that value. So it is, I can see why it's a requested topic because it's very confusing.
Yeah. And I did want to mention for the audience that we are recording this live. So if we stumble, bumble, mumble, jumble our words, I won't be trying to say that again, then it is live. So we are not editing this. So I just wanted to kind of set the stage a little bit for this workshop and give you, the artist who's watching this, insight into what we're going to be covering. So first, after this introduction, we're going to talk about the 5 artist tiers. So we've worked with thousands of artists, actually tens of thousands of artists all over the world. Jock has represented hundreds of artists in galleries. Dimitra has personally mentored hundreds of artists and worked with thousands of artists online. And we have found that most artists fit into one of these 5 categories in terms of their career level. So we're going to talk about that and help you figure out exactly where you are so that you can build a plan around your current level and working towards leveling up, getting to the next level so you can charge more with your art confidently. After that, we're going to be talking about the art of pricing. So what are all the factors that go into pricing your artwork so that you can make sure that you have a confident answer when someone inevitably asks you, why does it cost that much, right? If you have that one person who's like, just super tough and is like, why is this that much? People ask that. So it's good to have all the different factors in there so that you sound knowledgeable and so that you feel confident. And then after that, we're going to talk about some different pricing strategies and different pricing models. So a lot of times artists are wondering whether they should use a square inch model or a linear inch model. And we're going to talk about that and our experience with both of those models and what works selling art online and selling art in physical galleries. And then we're going to go back to the different artist tiers and talk about how to charge more with your art and level up a bit more tactically. And at the end of this, I actually built out an art career roadmap that is basically 11 questions. It's totally free. And we're going to walk you through that so that you can take that and get a personalized roadmap according to where you're at in your art journey. And yeah, it'll be a lot of fun. Put a lot of work into that. So I'm super excited for you guys to get to use that for free. So Okay, let's jump right in. So, as I said before, there are 5 tiers of artists that we've seen. And those are beginner, aspiring, emerging, established, and echelon. You can call them master, echelon, professional, whatever you want to call them. I like the word echelon because emerging, established, echelon, alliteration.
Yeah.
A beginner artist basically has little to no sales. They're exploring their styles. They don't really have confidence in their pricing. They don't have a duplicatable process. They don't have. They haven't found their voice yet. And same with an aspiring artist. A lot of the similarities between a beginner and an aspiring artist. There are a lot of similarities, I should say. Except the aspiring artist maybe has sold a few pieces. Maybe they've sold some pieces within their family, but they're not consistent enough yet in their sales to be considered an emerging artist. Now, an emerging artist sells their work relatively regularly. They have a growing collector base, and they're starting to gain confidence in their pricing because they have the history and the proof to show that they should charge a certain amount for their art, but maybe they're still a little bit flexible on their pricing sometimes. Maybe they don't have an established pricing model for their art. And so, this will definitely be beneficial for you if you are in that level. And then for the established artists, they have gained recognition in the art world. Maybe they've worked with galleries. They sell really consistently with their art. Art is probably their main source of income, if not a large source of income for their household. And they sell typically between $30,000 to $50,000 plus per year with their art, and are able to live a relatively comfortable life with the sale of their art. And collectors actively seek them out. Now, the echelon artist is really the highest level of artists, and those artists have sold at least $500,000 over their career. They probably sell anywhere between 80 to 200, 300,000 plus per year with their art. They sell their art at premium prices. They probably charge a lot more for commissions than they sell their regular paintings for, and they have a worldwide presence. Dimitra actually fits into the echelon artist category, and that is why she's here. To give advice on that. So just a quick little piece of advice. This was totally unplanned, but what do you think has helped you the most in getting to that echelon status?
That's a big question because it's so many things. Like, I think it goes back to your passion and your why. Why are you even an artist? Why you want to do what you're doing? I just love painting so much. I know I'll never stop, and I have this desire to get better and better. And I know that I'm always going to pour myself into my art and try to make the most beautiful thing I can. So, if I'm growing in that direction, then of course my prices will get higher every year or every couple years. And so I think it comes back to a dedication and maybe just having a vision, a long-term vision.
And time.
There's a lot,
for you.
Yeah, I've been doing this for more than 10 years, so it doesn't happen. It does not happen right away.
Yeah.
And I think that level, it can happen without it, but time is a big factor. How long have you been painting, or your piece has been collected, or how many clients? Time is the ultimate kind of proof that you're not in this, and then 5 years later, this is a big worry for collectors. If I buy this at this price, 10 years from now, it happens all the time. What's the value? What's it going to be worth?
Yeah.
And if it's a job that you're hitting it really, you're selling really well, but down the line, you kind of might get tired. And, if it's not a lifelong thing, it's hard to get to that echelon level. So I think that's played into her success as well.
Yeah, that's a really good point, and both excellent answers too. unexpected. Yeah. But I think that's the main point, though, is that it's not so simple. That, like you said, it's something that you get to over time. And so, like, meta lesson from takeaway from this workshop, even if you go no further, probably the most important thing is, do it because you love it and stick with it.
Yeah, it'll show in your art.
Yeah, so much of being in business is just a game of who can stand the longest, and that's on the business side. That's not even considering, the passion.
That value, when you get to that level, it wasn't set by Dimitra per se. I mean, it's set because she's had that many people over the years continue to collect, have new collectors. And, as a mother, there's only so much time. So it just got to a point where we just recently raised your prices. But, could have taken, some artists do that a little too quickly or too often.
Yeah. And we're going to talk about some different strategies for raising your price too coming up. So that's it for the artist tiers for now. As I said before, at the end of this, I'm going to share with you guys a free quiz/assessment that I created to help you figure out exactly where you're at within that. A lot of people are like, am I an aspiring artist? Am I an emerging artist? Am I established? This quiz will factor in how much you've sold in your art, how many followers you have, what is your engagement like, what is your marketing and sales strategy like, and a lot of other different things in order to help aggregate those answers and let you know what category you fall in. So now I'd like to talk about the art of pricing and different pricing values. Pricing factors. So Jock, I'd love to start with you. What are some of the most important factors that you take into consideration or that you think should be considered when pricing artwork?
Leaving the price or number off the table for a minute with the artist and just getting to know them. So I like to find out what their goals are and what success to them looks like. So maybe success to that particular artist, she's just beginning, but about to, kind of reach the next level. Does success to you look like I sell things for this price, or I want X amount of pieces in people's homes by the end of the year? So that, there's two different ways to perceive it, but not worrying so much about the price and just wanting to share with collectors kind of shows that you're going to reach that final level because it's a passion for you and you care about what people think about your art and you want to move people with your art.
Yeah. And the ironic thing too, going along with that, is a lot of times when you fixate on the price too much, especially with the collector, or if you need to sell the artwork at a specific price, like it does come across as needy. And it shows. And, in the sales world, we like to call it commission breath, right? Like if a salesperson's trying to sell something too hard, then you can smell it, right? You can feel it off them and it doesn't feel good, Whereas if you don't really need it, but you're doing this because you love it, then the other person kind of leans into you more, right?
Yeah. Selling of the artwork and less involved with like the price, so artists that are watching can understand, but just to throw this out there, when someone loves a painting, price is generally not what made them buy it, right?
Yeah.
Price is almost an afterthought. I mean, it's happened to me and I see it happen all the time when I know someone's just locked in and they're like, I hope that's not. Found out the story behind it and it's, or they're literally crying in the gallery. So if you jump in too soon and just say, we have a sale right now and this
it's all about
there's like a magic happening where they're connecting with it. So it's tough as a galleryist, right? To settle and relax and let that magic happen. And, you can ruin sales by just being annoying or standing behind them and needling them.
Yeah, that's a really good point. Dimitra, I feel like you, in some ways, a huge part of your success has come through your reputation and like the branding that you've been able to establish.
Yeah.
Tell me a little bit more about like how you think that having a following has helped you incrementally increase your prices over time?
Like social media and all that. Yeah. I think today, like more than ever, everyone's on social media, and so many artists get well known through social media. And I think it's just a huge tool to reach a wider audience because you only get so many people walking through a gallery. I think there are ways now that galleries, like we're trying to be really innovative with our own gallery to expand online and, reach a bigger audience. But I've used social media since almost the beginning of my career, and it's grown from a couple hundred followers to, if you count Facebook as well, almost 400,000. So I think it's just a huge, huge tool and has helped a lot.
Fundamentally, pricing is a function of demand. Like it is determined in a lot of ways by demand. And having that online distribution, presence of your art helps drive up demand. So the more people who want to buy your art, the more you can charge for your art. And that's essentially like what it comes down to in a lot of ways.
And
it's, sorry, go ahead.
Oh no, I don't want to interrupt you.
Well, I was just going to say it's also true when you're working with a gallery. If you're sending your artwork to a gallery and you are constantly selling out of your artwork. If a gallery is selling your art as fast as they can receive it, or let's say even like within a month of receiving the art and they're consistently selling the artwork, then they're going to want to increase the price because you clearly, it's not a price factor. You have a lot of demand for your work. And especially when there's a limited supply, as there usually is with art, that is an indicator that you can increase your price, is having that demand. But what were you going to say before?
Just got a lot of thoughts going through my head because there's so many things that factor into choosing a price. And I think going back to social media, like just the more eyes you can get on your art, the better. And you want it to reach as many people as possible. And I've seen a direct influence. Like I've seen when my followers have grown, then I get a lot more sales directly after. So in this past year, it's like almost doubled. Mm-hmm. And that was, super exciting to see all that. And I think it also, like for emerging and even beginner and aspiring artists, it is difficult to, like, you want to put yourself out there on social media and get that following. But if you're not sure in your own art and your style, and you don't have a look together, you don't have the inventory, you don't have stories behind your art, if you're not totally in love and confident in what you're doing, then that's where it starts. Like you have to be confident in that to attract the right buyers, because it's like even through a screen, even through social media, people feel it and they know like if you're serious or not.
And I'm in my 40s, so it's been a new thing for me. Starting out, social media was not really a factor for artists.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And just watching you, I've literally watched your career from childhood to motherhood. Mm-hmm. And a big factor, and this is for artists out there, the reason we're talking about this, people buy art because it's almost like they buy you. They buy mm-hmm. your story, they buy who you are.
Yes.
Social media is just a mirror in your thoughts, in your studio, in your mm-hmm. life. So if you do it, don't do it hokily, just to, because you have to do it. Be authentic. Like you post, like you like to go shelling, and here's the thing you're doing. It's not all tailored content that is, and at the end of this, here's how you can order a commission. Just mm-hmm. share. It's been a tool to share who you are, which has just driven home the value for the collectors over the years.
Yeah, that's such a good point, and being authentic and not just trying to oversell. Yeah. Totally. How much do you guys think that time and effort should factor into the price of artwork versus like history, like sales history and demand?
I've really gone back and forth on this because like before working with you, there's another guy that I won't say his name, but art publishing.
Publisher?
Yeah.
Oh,
And
yeah.
he told me that I should price my art based on like the meaning behind it, the specialness, like what it meant to me, if it or
From
if it
Park West Galleries.
yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so the prices were all over the place, and it worked for a few months. Like we sold a lot of art that way, but it was very hard to keep up with that
The model.
structure. And so yeah, thinking back to just like based on time and effort, I don't think that should be so taken into consideration too heavily, because I'm at the point now where I paint really fast because I've been doing this for a while, and I might finish a painting in 8 to 10 hours, and where someone who's a little bit less experienced might take them 15 or 20 hours.
Or 40.
Or more, 40, yeah.
Right.
So, but I think that is a strength, and like it's not going to make me charge less just because I can do it faster.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah.
What do you think?
There's all different styles. Like Wyland, for instance, he adopted this Japanese style sumi brush art. You can watch him do an original in front of you in 60 seconds. The whole art of it, the whole beauty of it is perception of the thought in your head in the least amount of strokes and negative space. And people would come in and comment, that looked like it took you 5 minutes. No, it took me 58 years and 4 minutes,
Yeah.
And I mean, it was never a factor for someone not to buy it. It was just a comment,
Just an
right?
interesting
Yeah.
thought, yeah.
But if you price the way you said that guy told you to do it, I think I'm not for that system because it's confusing for you.
It was confusing,
to keep
yeah.
up with. But if you have two paintings, say they're on your website, and one is 4,000 and one is 7,000, and they're the same size, it kind of becomes confusing. Like, well, I wanted to get the more expensive one, but I wonder why this one's less expensive. Is there something wrong with it?
Totally.
It's like when you go in an Apple store. I mean, people don't balk at the price of their MacBook. They save up for it all year, and they cannot wait to get there. And they're throwing their card because they know the value. Apple does a really good job marketing why those products cost what they do.
Mm-hmm.
Or if you go in a restaurant, like you can get the same steak at Sizzler or Outback that you can at a fine dining restaurant. It's about the experience, really, so.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. That's a really good point too, that so much of it is just perception. But I really love what Wyland said, that it took him 58 years to get there, because it is really like the experience that you have throughout your entire life, even if you haven't been an artist for your whole life, just as a human living on this planet, your experience feeds into your creativity, it feeds into your craft, and it helps shape who you are. And so ultimately, like at the end of the day, every person, price is completely subjective to them in terms of art. But
let's say, just example because we're talking really abstractly, but there are people that probably want examples. Say you're an artist and you have an abstract style, and it doesn't take you long, but you started painting after you got out of rehab, and this was a way for you to grow, and your whole story around why you make that art. It's like Jackson Pollock, it's drips on canvas, but it's not really. It's about who he was, why he was doing it, what it meant and represented. So,
and then also the media coverage and
But if you combine that with skills, then you have like the ultimate
undisputable
art.
pricing. Yeah. And I think that's ultimately like what you should strive towards as an artist, is having the skill that people don't ever question your price. Like nobody questions the price of Dimitra's paintings because it's undeniable. It is excellent. Nobody ever questions Ellie's pricing because the paintings you can't imagine how it could be better, right? You run into the question, well, why is this blank canvas worth $1 million? Like why is this dot on the canvas?
Yeah.
Go to a modern art museum.
We just went to one. There was a white canvas on the wall. Like how in the world?
Well, I saw a little bit of texture, but
Well, good advice too for artists out there. say you're doing like the fair circuit or the art show circuit, right? Maybe don't put your price tags on there and let them ask you. And this is something, with galleries, a lot of times people say, oh, if there's no price. If I have to ask, I can't afford it. The reason galleries do that is if it is an artist like Dimitra and they walk in and they see $10,000, they might just turn around and walk out because they think everything in the whole gallery, everything in the whole collection is that price. But it doesn't give me the chance,
to initiate a conversation
without the price tag. Hey, I'm interested in this. Instead of saying that's $10,600, unless they're in a hurry, I like to really, hey, is your first time in, or you've never heard of Dimitra? Give a little context, give a little backstory, and by the time the price comes out your mouth, it's softened it up a little bit to where they already kind of understand. So their next question isn't, man, why is it that much?
Yeah, that's such a good point. Yeah. But also to what you guys were saying before, like having that consistent pricing model is so incredibly important. And there are really two ways that people go about pricing their artwork, and in the professional world, and that's square inch, and something that's a bit newer, or at least that I've seen that's a little bit newer, is linear inch. So basically, just to explain what square inch and linear inch are. So in the square inch model, you take the length, you multiply that by the width, and then you multiply that by a price factor. So that's either like $1 per square inch to $2 if you're a beginner, 2 to 4, I would say really 2 to 3 if you're an aspiring artist, maybe even
that spills over
$2,
to emerging.
And that can spill over to emerging. And also all this is a little bit dependent on like what's your market, like where do you live, right? Because if you live in Beverly Hills and you're an emerging artist, you might be able to charge quite a bit more in the Beverly, if that's your primary market that you're selling to, if you compare to if you're, selling in Statham, Georgia, which I'm sure nobody has ever heard of, but we live there. And, the market there might be a little bit more price sensitive than in Beverly Hills. So price sensitivity should be factored in if you're selling locally. But anyways, I digress. So an aspiring artist is about $2 to $3 per square inch. And then a emerging artist might be anywhere between $2 to $5, 5 being on the high end, definitely. And then an established artist might be anywhere between $5 to $10 per square inch. And an echelon artist can sell, there's no ceiling. There's artists who sell for millions of dollars. So, and then once you get into that upper echelon, it really, when someone has $100 million that they're spending, it's almost better for them to buy a piece of a painting that is $1 million. They almost enjoy that more than buying. They're not asking about the price.
What's that guy's number?
I know, exactly right. I'll give it to you after. Just kidding.
There's also mediums, like say you generally paint your on canvas or linen, but you want to do a few watercolors, right? You don't have to go by square inch for everything.
So true.
Yes. That's very true.
Or say another example is you're a part of a square foot show, small, really, really small scale. And, if you were to go by the square inch model, something that's 12 by 12.
I run into that too.
It might take you almost as much time, even though it's not as big. It's the prep work. So you can say, this is my edition. This is my small treasures edition. Or this is my watercolor price, right? So don't feel like you're locked in when you're at the level that you think you're at. You can also find ways to price your way into people's, price range, but you just don't want to deviate. You can always raise your price. Write this down. You can always raise your price. You should never decrease your price.
Never.
Yes.
Yeah, no.
Yeah, absolutely. And on that note of writing this down, this entire workshop is recorded and will be available on YouTube after this. I know I'm telling you like halfway through it, but we recommend you to rewatch it if there's something that you missed, because it helps our engagement. I'm just kidding. But no, because there's a lot that we're talking about here, and Yeah, it's a good conversation.
is
I
good.
hope so. So the square inch model, just to kind of tie a bow on it and give you exactly like what it looks like in practice. If you created a 30 inch by 40 inch painting, you would multiply 30 by 40, you would get 1,200. And if you were pricing at $2 per square inch, you do 1,200 times 2, and that painting would be $2,400. So that is a square inch model. And as Jock said, for sure, there's different variations within that. Like, for example, Dimitra, she charges $7 per square inch, due for another price increase sometime this year, probably, based off demand. And so she charges that for her original oil paintings. In the past, she's done sketches that are, light mixed media, not finished with oils, just acrylics and like maybe Caran d'Ache crayons. And that's gone for a different price point. And her watercolors are a different price point. So especially if you work with smaller mediums, you might want to set a minimum that you have. So that no matter whether it's, an 8 by 10 or a, 12 by 16, you at least charge, $300 if you're, a beginner, or maybe $200 if you're a beginner. That's your baseline price. No matter what, you don't go below that because you value your time and, you care about this.
It's not just the time, like this is an important part.
Yes.
When we're talking about the price and everything, it's not just you valuing yourself as an artist or your time. You're valuing the client because the client's
So
looking
true.
to you, and you're the expert. So they want to know, this artist believes in herself. She's not freaking out and sweating because she just told me the price, and like, don't assume that they need a discount right away, or you just they're looking at you for a reason, and you just kind of have to have that confidence to stand. And you know what? If it's not, don't be afraid to walk away.
Yeah.
I know that sounds hard no matter what level you're at, but the right painting price will not be an issue for the right person.
So
Yeah.
true. Yeah, that's
That's
good
such a
advice.
good point.
So just suggest, hey, you know what? I can do a commission. If this is your price range, here's what I charge for commission, and we can do it like that,
That's a really good point.
I've faced that issue before, like at a show. I remember a few months back, someone was asking to buy a piece, and I gave him the price, and then I could tell he was like, well, is there any wiggle room? And I told him like I really try not to discount my originals because they've been selling at this price for so and so, like, a few years, and there's all these collectors in the past who've bought at that price, so it is devaluing what they have.
Yeah.
If you are just going to give a discount here and there just on the spot so you can make that sale. So having like maybe a gift with purchase or something else that something smaller you could throw in. I think it's okay to discount if it's like 5% or something.
There's
really
no police. Like if it's a collector, with everything we're saying, like if this is a family friend, use your own judgment, right? But professionally, especially if you're in galleries, I mean, that's the whole thing when you talk about price.
you gotta be really careful.
Understand that gallery is going to charge 50 to 60% more than you're used to getting for that painting, right? So you got to factor that into what level of success do you want? Is it just maybe you don't work with galleries, or you understand that it's going to, and to explain why that is the price range. I mean, the gallery I ran in Maui, the rent, it wasn't that much bigger than our gallery here. The rent was like $40,000 a month. Okay, because it's on the street with one of probably the third biggest collection of galleries in the country. It's not there anymore, but when you talk to directors from these bigger galleries, like they are doing the marketing. It's a partnership, right?
Yeah.
But don't ever let them say, well, it only took you this amount of time. Not that they ever would, but just understand, like, you guys value each other's time. And if success to you is, I want 1,000 new people to see it every day, then that's a good route to go.
So I want to bring up the pricing per linear inch model now, because this is something that's a bit, I've just heard of it. I've seen threads about it on Reddit, seen debates on Reddit or different places of, square inch versus linear inch. Where do you lie? What should you choose? And the linear inch basically looks like this. You add the length and the width instead of multiply them. So if it's a 30 by 40, then you add 30 and 40 together, you get 70, and then you multiply that by usually a much larger number than what you would with the square inch model, because there's addition in that equation rather than multiplication. And so that might be, $200 per linear inch, or even $500 per linear inch. So 70 times 500 would be $3,500 for a linear inch. And what this can do is create less of a disparity between your smaller paintings and your larger paintings, but which can be a plus, but then it devalues the larger work. So if you primarily, I've seen it a lot with watercolor artists because they primarily work on smaller paintings, and it can be more popular in the small scale kind of artwork market.
Yeah, but once it gets really big, it's not,
And especially once you start to work with galleries, I don't think I've ever heard of a gallery that works with the linear inch model. And typically the gallery will want you to have a square inch model for your pricing, because that is what the rest of the established artists will be pricing their artwork based off of. So, if you're selling alone, like you are solely selling your artwork on your own website, you're in charge of your distribution, maybe you're selling it on Etsy, etc., you're not working with a gallery, or you don't plan on working with a gallery in the future, then you can go with the linear inch model. However, know that when you start to work and you sell larger pieces, it does undervalue larger paintings. And really, we recommend going with the square inch model, no matter what tier you're at, whether you're beginner, aspiring, emerging, established, or echelon, because, as Jock mentioned before, you can overcome the disparity between large and small just by having, that sort of separate pricing structure for your smaller paintings. Maybe it's a higher price per square inch, or maybe, as I mentioned, it's a minimum threshold that you sell it for. And really, that's effective pricing. So, did you want to add to that?
Just a point to that too. I mean, when you're talking about, I've never come across linear inch, but there's certain, like, let's use writing, for example. If you want to write a screenplay and shop it around in Hollywood seriously, if you don't know the right format, if you don't have the proper 3-act structure, no one's ever going to read it, because they just assume this is not a professional, right? So when pricing your art and just doing standard things, you can kind of detract the eye of a director or galleries, because it's just, they're not following what everyone else does, so they must not really know what they're doing.
They're
That's
not on the in crowd. I mean, truthfully, that's really what I mean. It's an indicator,
and it's nothing against, like, if the art's great.
Yes,
I'm just pointing out that might be something that pops up, because if you're looking at multiple artists that email all the time, it's just subconsciously you think, well, they're not really ready yet, or don't understand certain things.
Absolutely. So just to go back to, just to summarize a little bit where we're at now, basically you should be pricing per square inch. That's our recommendation. That's what we believe. And your price should be determined by your size, right? That's inherent in the square inch model. It should be determined by your sales history, right? What is your precedent of sales? How much demand is there on your artwork? Just summarizing. And then another one that's interesting that we haven't talked about yet is published versus unpublished originals. And this is something that we've been discussing, doing with Dimitra's artwork, and you and I had a discussion today about our gallery and publishing some of Ellie's work, and maybe strategically withholding some of that to be able to, so could you speak to a little bit about, like, what are some factors that break the mold that would make you want to charge more for a painting because of that?
Well, going back to the very beginning, when an artist says, I want to charge more for this because it took me more time, or I emotionally am connected to it, that came up with you and I, where there was 2 different sizes, and I was asking, I was like, why are these different? And it's probably from the other guy.
It was from,
So,
I held on to that for a while.
which is okay, but what you can do in that scenario is publish it. A published original, if there's a pyramid of value as far as collectors and galleries, you know, if there is a commodity structure, published original is at the very top. Published just means you can, like the Mona Lisa is a published original. You can see it on a t-shirt and a coffee mug. There's limited editions. An original, a one of one, which sometimes people think, why would that not be more valuable? It's just an original. It's never scanned. It doesn't show up on the cover of a book or, you know. So that's just one way to get out of the structure. If there's one that you really, that's like your flagship painting. Another thing that I think is smart, my friend Walfredo Garcia does this, where he's been painting seascapes for almost 40 years. And originals have kind of hovered around the same price. They've gone up incrementally, like it should. But he has a whole edition on koa wood, which is a type of wood. My wedding ring is made out of koa. Koa trees only grow in Hawaii, and now they're protected. So you can't cut a koa tree down. It has to fall over naturally.
Wow.
And it's prized for its beauty. It's used for musical instruments. He can source someone on the Big Island that has it and paint very simple oils over it. That doesn't have to go by square inch. That's on this substrate that is unique, right?
That's so true, yeah.
You use gold. You want to use... So come up with an addition. If you want to go outside of... You know, maybe you are at this level, but you have the chops and you really have the clients and you want to sell... Just go outside of your general collection and do a special edition on something different size, something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, we talked about creating, for Dimitra, I don't know what we called it, but like a statement, not a statement, but showstoppers, something that is at that incredibly high price point to create that price anchor, right? Yeah. And this is going a bit into the pricing strategy. Once you are an emerging or an established artist, it is really helpful to have artwork that fits different price thresholds, right? And this goes into the conversation of understanding who is your ideal collector or who has collected your artwork and what are the patterns of price points that sell, because there are different price thresholds in people's minds, and price is something that's actually studied very heavily within business. And, you know, there's actually this this price sensitivity meter called the Van Westendorp that I will just very briefly dive into for you guys. I learned this at a workshop in Vegas with Alex Ramosi, but basically, the Van Westendorp asks people 4 questions, and you're trying to figure out, is it too expensive? What price is too expensive? What price is too cheap? What price is a stretch price? And what price is a good value price? And basically, you want to avoid the top 2, the too expensive and the too cheap, and you want to figure out what is the sweet spot between the stretch price and the good value price. You want people to purchase the artwork or purchase the product, feeling like they got a good value for it, but stretching so that they value it extra, right?
Yeah.
And so that you can maximize the profit that you make from this thing that you do that you love. And so that is something that you can sort of play around with once you get to an upper echelon or you get to that established or even emerging artist level and you start having more consistent sales. And like Jock said, you don't want to lower your prices, but only ever increase your prices over time. But that being said, with the Van Westendorp and understanding like what are the price thresholds that your ideal clients respond to, you can create paintings that fit within a specific size, or as Dimitra has done in the past, use specific mediums to fit that price threshold. Like Dimitra has a sub-segment of her market that really wants to buy originals less than $1,000. She can't do that, really. Even with oil paintings, she can't do originals that are less than $1,000. but she sells watercolor sketches less than $1,000. And those typically sell like hotcakes. They sell very quickly whenever she does watercolor sketches because she has a price anchor. And a price anchor is something that is much more expensive, so that when people see something that maybe in a different context would seem really expensive, right? Like if you put a $900 painting next to a $5 print, the $900 painting looks expensive. But as soon as you put the $900 painting, you get rid of the $5 print, and you put it next to a $15,000 painting, $900 seems like a steal. And so that's what Dimitra has done, and it's been very successful. And it's not just that she did this willy-nilly and it didn't she didn't earn it, right? She, through the course of her career, built to the point where she could charge reasonably $15,000 plus. Actually, she sold a painting this last year for $42,000 that was 6 feet by 8 feet. So,
We have one blank canvas left.
Yeah.
That size.
Yes,
Anyone wants to commission.
I do want to do that soon. Yeah.
So anyways, having that precedent of selling something for over $40,000, it really helps price anchor. And honestly, you should have it on your website as sold for that much because anyways, just precedent of sales.
Yeah.
Leave your sold artwork on your website to show people that you sell artwork, by the way, side tip. But that's getting a little bit into the pricing strategy once you are a more established artist.
But that's good to bring up too for artists. If you go in a gallery and you're not at that level, realize that published original that is $100,000 that sits behind the desk, that might not sell for a while. Yeah. But so I say that because if you're an artist and you walk in and you're like, oh my gosh, I need to raise my prices, you'd get this anxiety of like, man, almost like FOMO, like that piece sits there so that we can sell $1,200 prints signed and numbered of that artist all day. Yeah. Because bread and butter of certain galleries are between 1,000 to 3,000. If you're in an area that you get like heavy tourist traffic, they don't know who the artist is, but they, exactly what you said, see the value, explain who they are, their story, and they can afford, there's one in that price point, all the way down to a book for $100, There's all different barriers of entry to collect that artist and then work your way up. Just know that that's the price when I am ready for it, but there's other options.
Yeah. And the best way to get one of those high-priced paintings, or to not get one, but to create one, and even if you're at a beginner level or an aspiring or an emerging level, and actually be able to charge more, is just do a really big painting. And then if you do a 48 by 60, and it's $1 per square inch, I can't do the math in my head that quickly, but it's above 2,500. And if your bread and butter is selling $300 to $500 paintings, then having a $2,500 painting will help you sell more of those. And having a $2,500 painting will help you sell the $25 prints. And the $25 prints will seem like nothing when you have that in your booth at the local market or,
very true.
Wherever you are, on your website, whatever. But were you going to bring something up?
No, just, agree with that.
I did want to ask you guys how prints factor into this. I know it's almost a whole entire separate discussion and could be a whole other workshop of like how to price your prints. But just briefly, either of you, really, whoever wants to discuss print pricing strategy.
There's different terms. Let's just get the terms out there. Yeah. Print, giclée. The word giclée means to spray. So it's a way of canvas print that's just higher quality. So first of all, if you are using prints, say giclées, because a print has that automatic perceived, oh, there's a laser dot printer. Why would I pay any more,
than what I could print it at home for?
Yes. Yeah. And then the structure would go, okay, if you want to sell prints, sorry, I just broke my rule. Giclées. Open edition.
Internally we use prints.
Yes. There's open editions, right? Dimitra just had a painting. It's sold before it got to the gallery. And then she had X amount of open editions available for a couple $100. That would be like the lower price point, and that would be really easy for anyone to collect. Assigned and numbered means they're a limited amount, and it's hand signed by the artist, generally. And The next tier of giclées would be an artist proof, and that would be a giclée print that the artist hand touches, maybe adds clear gel, does something to make it more than just a print on canvas. And those are limited. You want to stick within, depending on who the artist is, but 10 to 20, right? So the value in that is when you're selling something, first of all, the original might be out of a price point, but this is a limited edition that has original paint on it. So you just covered 3 different price points.
Mm-hmm.
I'm all for printing your art and selling giclée if you are not at that second or third or fourth,
The emerging or
tier.
established, yeah.
You don't want to water down. If your originals are not that expensive, difference between the price of an original and just the impact when you look at one between a print on anything and an original. Owning original art is such an essential thing that you should sell those all day until you price out of certain ranges, right?
Yeah. And then you want to get to a point where you, like where I'm at, I want a lot of people to be able to have my art, not just because not everyone can afford an original. So that's why I've chosen to do open edition prints, and really hitting all those price points is the best strategy, because then you have something for everybody and they can always work their way up.
Yeah.
I think kind of a clear roadmap that you could follow if you wanted a clear roadmap is don't do prints when you're a beginner, just focus on selling originals. When you become an aspiring artist, just stick with open editions. Once you get to the emerging artist, that's when you can start to think about doing limited editions, when you've had multiple people, when you have a high demand for your prints or your giclées, and you've had multiple people request to buy an original, and there weren't enough of that specific original, to fulfill the demand, then you might want to start doing the limited edition. And then, of course, once you get into an established and an echelon artist, free reign. Of course, these are all just guidelines, right? You can.
If you get there too, this is really important to say, if you decide to do limited editions, if you're keeping your own books, make sure you do not oversell that edition. That is like the biggest taboo.
You're breaking publishing laws and you can go to prison.
Yes, you literally, I don't know anyone that's happened to personally, but I've heard, but more so you're just, I don't know, you want to be professional.
Have integrity. Yeah.
Because you're saying there's only 50. So if someone that bought that finds out you sold 100, man, what does that make them feel like now?
Yeah.
When they look at that piece?
Betrayed and lawsuit. I'm just kidding. Maybe not a lawsuit necessarily, but it's definitely, you can get sued and you can get in a lot of trouble for that. Okay. So I wanted to talk about going from beginner to aspiring to emerging to established, and established to echelon. Very briefly, so Dimitra, what advice do you have for an artist who wants to go from a beginner to an aspiring artist?
Number one thing would be build your skills and find your voice, find your style. Every successful artist has to have those. That's the very beginning. And being really confident, like once you start to gain momentum and see your skills building, it automatically gives you more confidence. And that's everything to, start there.
What about going from aspiring to emerging? Basically the same, a lot of the same, but
I would just
different?
say you like aspiring to me, I think of like an artist who like made the decision that they want a career in art and they, want to go for it and they're just getting started, where beginner is like, oh, I don't even know where art will take me. Like I'm curious, I like it, but I don't have the confidence to know what I'm going to do with it.
That's a really good
distinction. Aspiring is like you chose it. And so now you're just, continuing to build your skills. You want to find a solid, like create a cohesive body of work that reflects you, your story, find like what you're passionate about and how to translate that into art.
And not to cut you off, but don't be afraid to keep learning, because it happens a lot when you get a little traction. There's such a temptation to jump a step, but it's like taking the elevator to the top of a building. you haven't worked your body hard enough to actually make it to the top, so your body's not conditioned. That's bad.
That's a really good point, though, what you're trying to say. Yeah.
Let's say on a hike on a mountain,
Stairs.
but you're skipping a bunch of steps basically.
Yes.
So it does take some time to go between.
It's like trying to power lift when you just started going into the gym.
You
for
have
the
to
first time.
get
There you go. Yeah.
like
That works.
you have to get to the point where painting 40 hours like full time isn't hard for you. Like that is an easy, like that is your work, and you can do that. I would say 20 to 40 hours a week. If that feels comfortable and you can do that consistently, then you're at a good point to like be an emerging artist, I think.
How many artists, I mean, just last year in Miami with some of the graduate students, professional artists, they have a track record. They have 20 years. Shen.
Yeah, Shen 210, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, she is a professional artist in her own right, but she still has that desire. I want to learn. Maybe I know some of this, but you know what? I don't know how to do the social media or the marketing.
Yeah.
To get to those levels, you just have to
Be humble, actually.
humble. Exactly, because that's a big thing. Saying, well, an artist kind of look down on successful artists too quickly. I could do this or that. Just realize like it's sometimes lightning in a bottle, and I tell this to artists when they come in the gallery. This happened today. This girl was 16 and I was kind of going over your whole career. And at the very end, I said, just so you know, that is rare. I don't want you to leave here thinking, well, I better quit now. She started when she was 14 or 5.
Yeah.
Right? So just be humble to know, you know what, if you love doing it, no one's telling you there's a right age or path.
Yes.
Even if you don't fit in what we're saying right now, just be hungry and have the love to keep bettering it for yourself.
Anyone can learn.
Yeah. Because if you have that, that's when collectors, they see it. There's like this magic that happens, even if you're not present there, and a good art consultant's explaining your story. That's what they're buying. They're buying, man, this girl has such a great story. And I connect with that painting because partially of what they've had to go through.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and chances are, if you're still watching this right now, what are we, an hour into this, that you probably have that hunger and that desire and that humility within yourself, because you sat here listening to 3 strangers, hopefully, credible enough for you, but 3 strangers talk about how to price artwork. Clearly, you're passionate about the subject. Clearly, you want to grow, and you're looking for a path that will help you get to that next level. And that's where the mastery program comes in. So I do, if you want to take a minute to listen, I want to share with you about the mastery program, because it's helped so many artists around the world achieve what their version of success looks like to them. And as Jock said before, that can be different for a lot of different people. Some people, it's just simply seeing their artwork on the wall of a gallery. Some people, it's just being able to create with confidence. Other people, it's actually having a career as an artist, making a full-time living. And we've had all the different kinds of artists go through the mastery program and come out of the other end having achieved their vision. Of course, you get from it what you put into it, but what you put into it is a lot of joy. It's a really fun process, because basically you get to learn oil painting and drawing and the classical techniques. You learn how to find your voice as an artist, how to develop your own unique process through mixed media and combining that with drawing and with oils. And you learn how to build your own unique portfolio of artwork that you can then take and approach galleries with. And we share with you step by step how to contact galleries, how to get your artwork into galleries, and even how to, if you don't want to go the gallery route and your goal is to build a career on your own without the help of galleries, then we even share with you how to build a social media presence and how to sell directly to collectors as well, and so much more within the mastery program. So the mastery program is a program that you can go at your own pace. It's designed to be taken in 1 year, better than an art school education, better than a 4-year degree. We've had countless art school graduates, people who have gotten their BFA and even MFA in art and in painting, take the mastery program and tell us that they learned so much more, not just in the business and marketing side, or even in the voice side, but also in the oil painting, drawing, and mixed media side of things as well. So the mastery program is the ultimate art education. It's the best art education that you can get at the most affordable price. So it starts out at $4,800 with our 2-year payment plan. So you can choose to pay only $200 a month for 2 years, and that's $4,800. We have a 1-year payment plan that is $4,200, and that is $350 a month for 1 year. 12 payments, $350. And then if you want to take the most affordable, and you're able to make the payment up front, then you can save $1,200 and pay $3,600 and get all of the mastery program up front. Out of all your payments out of the way in just one payment, save $1,200. So the mastery program is designed to be taken 20 hours a week, as I said before, 1 year, but you have lifetime access to the content. It's all online. There's a virtual community of thousands, actually tens of thousands of artists around the world, thousands of artists who've taken the master program who are part of this community, and then tens of thousands of artists who are part of our greater online community on our app. But you go through the course step by step. It's all super clear. You know exactly how to set up your studio, how to get all the art supplies that you need to get. We walk you through how to fit it into your schedule. Even if you're a single mom with kids, we've had a single mom with, I think she had 4 kids, who I recently spoke with, who took the mastery program while working a job. She was a absolute trooper. And so, you know, it fits your schedule. That's how the mastery program is designed to be. You know, traditional school, you have to put your life on hold, go and take this program, spend tens of thousands of dollars, sometimes hundreds, if you're, you know, getting a 4-year degree at an art school. And then at the end of it, you've taken 4 years of your life away, and you don't even walk away with the marketing and sales knowledge that you will walk away with in the mastery program. So we've designed the master program to completely replace the traditional 4-year degree and be everything and more. And it is, the reviews speak for themselves. So we've had countless artists take the program and say that the program is life-changing, not just in their art, but in their heart and in their soul. And I realize that rhymed and I didn't plan it.
Yeah, it's true.
But it is, I mean, there's so many artists who've just told us that the best part wasn't even the skills that they gained, but the transformation that they experienced internally. And I think that's just a result of becoming an artist, learning how to see like an artist, learning how to think and feel like an artist, and experiencing the physical world that we live in from an artist perspective. So if that's enticing to you, then we actually have a free prep course that you can sign up for. You can find that at masteryprogram.com. And if you are like chomping at the bit and you're like, oh my gosh, I want to sign up right now, you can actually pre-enroll and get access to our oil painting essentials and our drawing essentials class right now, as you wait for the next cohort to begin on the 1st of the month. So every month we have a new group of students start on the 1st of the month, and you can join the next group by pre-enrolling today or getting our free prep course, and we'll send you reminders before the enrollment closes for this next group. If you have any questions at all about the master program and want to speak to someone one-on-one, we actually have a team of art advisors now. And so if you go to the masteryprogram.com page, then you can book a call with one of our art advisors and have a totally no pressure call with one of our art advisors to help walk you through this decision and help get you set up for success, really. I highly recommend, you know, having one of the calls with art advisors because it's a lot of fun. Our artist advisor right now, she is super empathetic and really funny, actually, and just a fun person too. So anyways, that is the pitch. That concludes it.
And the quiz.
But now I want to walk you guys through our free art career roadmap. And Jock, is there anything you wanted to add about the mastery program?
Well, I hear reviews, just to keep it short. People come in the gallery, sometimes more than just people walking in to look at art. And the community aspect is, like, I have not taken the course. Mm-hmm. I'm not a traditional artist, but people come in, and the main tie that I hear, the common thread, is that it's not a program that tells you to paint this style and do things this way, learn this technique. It's all tailored to bring out the art in you. And maybe your goal is never to go the route we're talking about, going in galleries, just to put your phone down and stop doom scrolling and pick up something that is just makes you smile at the end of the day.
Yeah.
So many people come in like they drove, like it's Mecca, to see this community. So.
Yeah.
Awesome. So I'm just walking you through taking the quiz right now. I'm just kind of selecting random. Also, I just realized you can select multiple. You're only supposed to select one, so I would only select one.
To get the most accurate.
Yeah, this will be inaccurate if you select multiple. Selecting one will be the most accurate. So then when you're complete, it gives you a personalized assessment based off of your score. So based off the answers I put in as beginner, and there's actually a ton. I put in a lot of effort. There's a ton of value on this page here for you to go through, giving you actionable advice on artistic development, pricing your art, marketing, visibility, sales and promotion, learning and growth, specific to the level of art that you're at, or the level in your art career that you're at. So I highly recommend you take it. The quiz is going to be in the YouTube description, so you can find that just below this video in the description. We'll probably pin it in the comments too after this live is over. But at the end of the day, you're going to want to take the mastery program. Take the quiz, then go join the mastery program, because that's actually how you're going to get to the next level. This kind of just shows you very tangibly how the mastery program will fit into that. But even if you don't plan on taking the mastery program, go ahead and take the quiz and I'll convince you. Because it is really life-changing. And I fully believe that, I took the program myself, and it has changed the trajectory of my life dramatically, like complete 180 from where I was going to where I'm headed now. And yeah, it is absolutely life-changing. And so many artists have said it. So I'm just
guarantee if you take the program, you'll meet your partner for life. And get married.
That's right.
Or your money back. Just kidding. That is
Help you attract your partner.
Okay, so that is all. We're gonna briefly do a quick Q&A. We got like maybe 3 minutes for a Q&A. Let's stop sharing because I'm gonna go to the messages now, Tanner, just in case. So I'm gonna pull up some questions. Okay, this is a good question. So this is probably a lot of people are thinking about this, so I want to answer it, even though it's a tough question. So Lisa said, it's easy to sell yourself short when you aren't selling anything. Do you think with the economy in the USA, let's say globally even, it's going to get worse? So this is a super touchy, sensitive subject. But I think if we zoom out, right, over time, the economy always gets better, basically. Like if you look at, if we just take like the S&P 500 over, a 50-year period, sure, there are cyclical, recessions or depressions or whatever, but no matter what, it always ends up going up, and the downturn always only lasts for less than a few years. So even if we do enter in a recession, I personally don't think we're going to enter a recession. If we do, it's not going to be dramatic like 2008. But even if we do, then, okay, zooming out, you want to ultimately learn how to sell to a client that is recession proof. And
That's
there are recession proof
exactly what I was
people
thinking.
out there. And the only way that you're going to be able to attract people who are recession proof, basically people who are affluent, is having a very high level of skill in your art.
Yes.
Having a precedent of sales. Having everything that we've talked about in this workshop that allows you to get from beginner to emerging to established artist. You really want to be in that established artist range because you can make a comfortable living there. And, then you're able to access people who are recession proof. Because think about it this way. If someone has a $10 million net worth and the market goes down by 50% even, that's kind of crazy. But let's say we have a 50% crash. And let's say, if they're 10 million net worth, they're not going to have all their money in the market because that would be foolish. But let's say they have, 30% of the money in the market. Then they only lost 15% of their net worth and they're kind of chilling. They don't really care. They actually are a lot of affluent people are excited by recession times when they
an
are more
opportunity.
liquid because it's an opportunity. So people who are more affluent are inherently optimistic, typically, because they know how to win. And you want to be able to sell to the optimistic people and attract the optimistic people.
And a short answer is look at the history of art.
Yeah.
Has art ever disappeared? I mean, this question is kind of
That's
crazy,
crazy,
into just the American economy. When I started, I worked in Waikiki, and the Japanese yen fell off. And for my 4 years in Waikiki before I moved to Maui, it kept getting worse. And people would still come in and buy because certain Japanese clients bought as a way to show their coworkers that they can afford a trip to Hawaii and to spend money on such a luxury. So
Wow.
that question is like, yeah, our art's not gone anywhere.
That's such an interesting point. Like, even if you are in a recession, that kind of thinking about this from like the marketing perspective or the, pricing strategist perspective, being able to buy is a status symbol. Even more so when you're in a recession. Then it just shows people that, look, I can afford this, right? That is such a good point. So great question.
You want to answer Katie?
Yeah, Katie Ellen Art or Katie Nelson wanted to know, will it be more difficult to near impossible for an older than 55 emerging artist to build a following?
No, it's not. I think every single person has a story and you have an edge, and sometimes it is your age, sometimes age does not matter, but you could use, like, no matter how old you are or how young you are, you can always use it to your advantage and have an edge over someone else. So it's never too late to start. It's like anything can happen, anything's possible.
Who asked that?
Katie Nelson.
Katie, email me, because I think you have a better story. The fact that you are not the typical age, that's not even true. But
yeah, there's a lot of older artists.
Grandma Moses.
yeah, it's such an artist question to ask, because it sounds like you're just finding a way to trip yourself up, right? Artists of every age find an excuse to say, what if they're not going to like this, or when's the right time, or
We're sensitive. Yeah.
sensitive. Yeah, that is an artist question, and you sound like a true artist. So email me, and we'll form a whole story, like Stephanie Linden.
Yeah.
I love when we had her for a show, she was a practicing physician and retired, and now she's traveling galleries after taking the master program. That's such a cool story.
Yeah.
People.
Yeah. And she's going to be in the Outstanding Artist.
Yes.
Yeah, we have so many students who have gone through our program who are definitely 55 plus and are building a social media following. So you can just take a look at like our audience, and you'll find people.
This is as a older person myself, hire someone younger to do your social media.
Yeah. But also, though, it is possible to learn how to do it yourself.
Yes, I'm joking.
But I mean, if you can, then do it. So I did want to we do need to wrap it up, but I did want to first thank you so much, Jock, for being on this. Jock is an awesome gallery director. He cares so deeply about artists and their careers, has an amazing story. I wish we had time to get to his story, but I did want to highlight Jock because he's actually going to be a judge on this season of The Outstanding Artist that we're about to film next month. So we're filming season 4 of our reality show that explores the question of what makes a truly outstanding artist. I'm super excited. We have 12 artists from around the world coming out to film with us in this next month. We have this season's going to be truly incredible because we have collectors who are commissioning paintings just for specific episodes. So there's prizes along the way, and also, half of the contestants will be eliminated by episode 3.
Oh my gosh!
I know I'm giving it all away because it doesn't, it's better this way. And at the end of it, after, huge prizes, $5,000 plus prize worth of jewelry, $5,000 plus commission, opportunities for publishing and licensing with other galleries in the actually one in Canada, other awesome opportunities as well. the winner of season 4 gets $25,000 grand prize, and it's just going to be super amazing. So all the contestants on the show are graduates of the mastery program. Most of them are part of our Society of Professional Artists that is designed for graduates of the mastery program to get opportunities to distribute their art and sell their art and make a living with their art. So if you are interested in being on the show at some point in your art career, if that sounds like it would be amazing to you to get to participate in a real reality show, then join the mastery program, build those skills, find your voice, develop your own unique process, learn how to paint quickly too, that helps. Although this season we're letting everyone know what they have to paint ahead of time. And we'll see you hopefully someday on the Outstanding Artists. So thank you guys so much for watching this workshop, for participating in it. This is recorded, so you can always go back and revisit this. Hopefully we'll see you inside the mastery program. Hope you have a wonderful day, and like and subscribe, of course, right?
To be able to visualize things that you never thought possible, the experience is teaching us how to dream really big.
This whole experience taught me everything when it comes to being successful.
Behind me is one of my featured pieces. It's called Beautiful Hope.
This whole program has just been nothing but a blessing for me.
I learned so much in this art class.
How to be successful as an artist as far as even practical habits, figuring out more about your voice, figuring out more how to market.
They've prepared me for the real world.
And
now.
And now I get to step into my career as a professional artist.
The mastery program will be of great benefit to not just other artists, but also who have always thought that art is a hobby, that they cannot live off it.
I did not consider myself a professional artist.
You don't even have to be an artist to take something away from this.
I was working in hospitals as a respiratory therapist,
A sales manager.
I was a creative director.
I'm a teacher.
This program gave me the confidence to pursue what I've always wanted to do.
I'm an artist. It's not just painting classes, it's also business classes. I found my voice.
What is my artistic voice? Your personal aesthetic, what drives you, what motivates you, what is this message you want to tell to the whole world? You start to see what it is that you're passionate about.
I really want to focus on giving back to the city.
Everything about the mastery program is built in a way that supports you as an artist.
I love the community of artists.
Community there is so strong and powerful.
Here you can find a group of people that will support you.
I've never seen a group of people that are just so willing to help lift each other up and sharpen each other's skills.
Seeing their work was so inspiring.
We're just encouraged to keep going.
And I can't explain how transformative it is.
It truly changed my life.
Each person is so unique in their expression.
And that's what's so beautiful about the program.
It's the most authentic experience you're going to get.
You can be successful in this program.
No matter what skill level you're at, it's a great program. They're very direct, very passionate. I just love it.
It was hard, but it was amazing.
I am a happy graduate.
I'm so much happier. I found my passion. So if art is really your passion, then it's definitely worth it.
Go to the Milan Art Institute.
Just do it. It's great.